Hello everyone, back tuning into the 8th Summer 2019 Analogues update from GazOffice.com. So we've done 7 updates for the summer of 2019 in terms of the Analogues so far. We're drawing to the end now of the summer update, so we've only got a couple more weeks to go after this week. And then we will get to the final Sunday of May, and that's when we're going to release the summer forecast. So we are winding down actually on the updates. Hope you've been enjoying them. So we're going to go through April data, or start going through April data for the next couple of updates. This update is going to focus on April CET, and then the next week's update will focus on April precipitation, and we may do a bit of pattern matching with that one as well. So we're going to go through April's or summers that followed April's with a similar CET to the CET of April 2019. I'll go over you very shortly. Just say that coming up later on today, we're going to have the GazOffice Sunday Roundup. So that's going to be your usual Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of this and that. And that'll be with you later on today. Big thank you to Analogues guru James Ackrill, for getting all of our analogues together yet again. As I say it every week. I couldn't do these updates without James's input, so big thank you to James for doing that. Can be quite a long video, so if you can't watch it all in one go, don't worry, it will be kept on the summer updates and forecast page with a written summary later on today. I'll get that up for you sometime this evening, so you'll be able to come back and watch the video on demand. And also you'll be able to have a look at that written summary if you would like to do that. Right, without further ado, let's get on with your 8th summer 2019 Analogues update. So as I say, we're focusing on the CET for this update. Now, we have been presented with some problems with this because they have not updated central England temperature for April 2019 at Hadley yet. We're still waiting for it to come in. It's very, very late. So at the time of recording this video, which is at 10:15 in the evening on the 3rd of May, we have not yet had the full CET for April 2019. So provisional up to the 27th of April, we were standing at 9.4. That's an anomaly of 1.7 degrees above the 61 to 1990 average. That's provisional up to 27th of April. Now, I think that is going to likely be down as corrected. So we've had to come up with a range, and we're assuming that our range is going to be there or thereabouts, although it could be that we're a little bit off, but we're assuming that's going to come in very close to 9 degrees. So 9.0 is like the central part of our range, if you like. On either side of that, it goes from 8.8 to 9.2. So our range of Aprils that we're looking at, and then summers that follow them, is 8.8 to 9.2. Central range of that is 9.0. Now, this is a bit of a guesstimate, so we're hoping that we're not going to be too far out with this, but we won't know for sure until this actually gets updated at Hadley. I assume that's probably going to be now not until Tuesday after May Day bank holiday weekend. So we'll get on with it, and we're just going to hope for the best, really. So this is our first summer. It's 1863. It follows April CET of 8.8. So this is like at the low end of our range. The summer of 1863 looks like this. It has above average heights up towards Greenland and below average heights in the Atlantic, quite a deep trough into the northeast of Europe. The jet stream is pushed southwards like that. But actually, the way that the ridge and the trough are aligning, I suspect will probably pull up some relatively mild air, maybe some quite warmish air at times from the south. So probably not too bad a summer with that one to start us off. Our next summer is 1864, again coming after an April CET of 8.8. This one looks like a much cooler, much more unsettled summer. This one has a blocking signal up to the north with below average heights to our east, and so that leaves us pulling in quite cold northeast winds. All sorts very unsettled, so that's a pretty grim summer in 1864. 1870 doesn't look great either. This follows a CT of 9.2. Again, with below average heights to our north and east, above average heights out to the northwest would send the flow and the jet in a northeasterly direction like that. So again, looks pretty cool, pretty unsettled summer in April 70. And then we go through to 1878. This follows an April CT of 8.9. The summer of 1878 looks like this, below average heights to our south, blocking signal out to the northwest. This is an unsettled but relatively warm summer, I think, actually, in 1878. It did have some quite warm weather at times, but it is also a very, very unsettled summer. The next summer is 1896, following an April CT of 9.1. This one with above average heights to our north, below average heights to our south. So we're kind of like feeding in easterly winds with that. The Atlantic is a bit blocked off, so I'm not sure it's a desperately unsettled summer, but it is probably quite cool in the summer of 1896. And then we go through to 1912. A bit alarming to see this one showing up. This is one of the worst summers of the 20th century. It follows an April CT of 8.8. The summer of 1912 has an appreciable level of northern blocking to the north of the UK, with a deep trough of below average heights to our south, and that leaves us pulling in quite cool air from the north. But the main thing is the trough, because it is a very, very wet summer. Indeed, atrocious summer, really, in 1912. I say it's one of the worst summers of the 20th century. It's a bit worrying to see it showing up in our Analogues package. Quite a long gap then through to the summer of 1933. This is a better summer. This following an April CT of 8.8. The summer of 1933 is actually quite a hot summer, with above average heights both to the north and to the west of the UK, below average heights pushed into the east and the southeast of Europe. So the jet stream going off up there. It's a very dry summer in 1933 and quite hot in the summer of 1933. That's the first really decent summer to show up within our Analogues package. Then we've got the summer of 1937, and this isn't a bad summer either. This following an April CT of 9.2. So it has above average heights up to the northeast, but that does extend into the UK to some degree. So it's not a bad summer. I mean, it's not remembered as a particularly good summer, but we have had worse summers than 1937. Then 1939, so quite a few turning up in the 1930s, interestingly, again following April CT of 8.8 this time. The summer of 1939, just as we stood on the edges of World War II, of course, has below average heights to our south. It has above average heights up to the north. It's an unsettled and relatively coolish summer as well. The summer of 1939 is remembered, I think, as rather a cool and unsettled summer overall. Then we go through to 1942, following an April CT of 9.2. This summer has above average heights out to our west and also to our south. So it's not a bad summer, really, in 1942. Below average heights up to the north. It's rather one of those rather sort of nondescript type summers, I think. Fairly quiet. Not a lot going on. The Atlantic is blocked off, so I don't think it's a particularly wet summer. But temperatures aren't particularly exciting either in the summer of 1942. 1948 follows an April CT of 9.0, and if we're right with our range, with 9.0 coming in the middle, then this should be very, very close, this April CT. The summer of 1948 is a very, very poor summer indeed, with its deep area of below average heights over the top of the UK and much of northern and central Europe as well, above average heights towards Greenland and Iceland. Jet streams push southwards, so it's a very cool and very unsettled summer in 1948. 1957 is our next summer, following an April CT of 8.9. The summer of 1957, again, with appreciable levels of northern blocking. It is a bit of a recurring theme with a lot of these summers so far. High pressure to be within the northern latitudes, a trough of low pressure over the north and west of Europe. That sends the flow and the jet rather like that. So again, it's a cool and an unsettled summer in 1957. And 1960 continues. This is not a very good package of analogues, I'm sure you've realised by now. The summer of 1960 looking like this, very unsettled again, deep trough of below average heights, centred over top of the UK, above average heights up to our north, a blocking seal up to the north, trough of low pressure over UK, jet stream getting pushed to our south as well. That's the summer of 1960 following an April CT of 8.9. Long gap then through to 1980. The summer of 1980 looking like this, following April CT of 8.8. Again, we see quite a blocking seal up to the north, so some above average heights close to Greenland, below average heights underneath it. This is quite a cool and unsettled summer as well. I think it starts off not too bad, but it does go into a very protracted spell of pretty grim weather through July and August 1980. Then another fairly long gap to 1995, and finally we've got a really good summer. So we're not quite at the level of the daddy, 1976, with the summer of 1995, but to be honest, we aren't all that far away from it. This is how summer of 1995 looks. It has a big blocking area of high pressure over and just to the north of the UK, so consequently it's bringing hot easterly winds. It's a hot summer and also a very, very dry summer as well. It's actually a drier summer than the daddy was. It's a little bit drier than the summer of 1976, but it's not quite as hot as the summer of 1976. Nevertheless, this is easily, very easily, the best summer that we've had so far within our package of analogues. The summer of 1995, bit of a game changer there, turning up in our analogues package for this 8th summer 2019 analogues update. And then we've got another good summer in 1997. This one again following April CT of 9.0. I should just say the summer of 1995, I'm not sure I mentioned this, as far as April CT of 9.1. So that could be very, very close to where we finish up with April 2019 CT as well, 9.1. Then 1997, summer 1997, following April CT of 9.0. It's another good summer showing up. It's not as good as the summer of 1995 because it's isn't hot, dry weather, but it's a very warm summer. It's a hot summer. High pressure up towards Scandinavia, low pressure to the south. We bring in hot easterly winds. August is a particularly hot month in 1997. It does have quite a cool wet start though. Then we're moving through to the summer of 2005, following April CT of 8.9. The summer of 2005 has above average heights just over and slightly to the west of the UK. That leaves us with a fairly quietish summer. It's one of those, again, pretty nondescript summers. It has quite a few hot spells in June. It has a couple of hot spells later on in the summer as well. Overall, though, it's remembered as just one of those fairly quietish, nondescript type summers that we get sometimes. Not particularly hot, but it does have some hotter moments, especially in June 2005. There's some pretty decent thunderstorms as well in the summer of 2005. Summer 2010 showing up next for an April CT of 8.8. Again, we have the above average heights out to the west of the country, but we also have this big ridge over towards eastern and northeast parts of Europe and the west of Russia. This summer contains an incredible heat wave, I think, in western Russia. Lethal heat wave across west parts of Russia in the summer of 2010. For us, well, it starts off as a very warm summer, actually. June 2010, very warm, but it deteriorates as it goes on. So it's a classic front-loaded summer, really, and by that we mean that the hottest, driest conditions are in the front part of the summer, and then it gradually gets worse and worse as it goes along, culminating in what was really quite a cool and wet August in 2010. Then 2015, again, following an April CT of 9.0. So the summer of 2015 with above average heights to our south, and then below average heights out to the north and the northwest, leaves us bringing generally a westerly flow. It's a pretty cool and poor summer actually in 2015, but it does contain one incredible spell of hot weather in the final day of June, and particularly the first day of July. Incredibly hot day on the first day of July, almost record-breaking heat, or it may even have been record-breaking heat. But then once that broke down to thunderstorms overnight from the 1st to the 2nd of July, the rest of the summer was generally pretty cool and pretty unsettled, really. So the summer of 2015 is a poor summer, but it does contain one very potent spell of hot weather at the start of July. And then the final summer in our Analogues package is 2017. So again, this one rather bizarre looking anomaly, but it has above average heights down to our south, but below average heights are up to the north. Again, you see quite a westerly summer, bringing the jet stream through. That's another classic front-loaded summer. It has a very warm June in 2015, lots of dry and hot weather going through June into the early part of July, but then it deteriorates, and August 2017 was generally quite cool and quite unsettled overall. So putting all of those years together, all those summers together, this is how the All Junes combined chart is coming out when we have an April CT of a range between 8.8 and 9.2. Generally, we tend to see above average heights up towards Greenland, below average heights over to the south of the UK. So it's quite a cool signal. I'm not sure it's that desperately unsettled, but there is a trough in there in the 500 millibar flow. And so I suppose overall just quite a cool, quite an unsettled type signal for June. July doesn't look particularly good either, so this is how the All July's chart is coming out with this April CT range of 8.8 to 9.2. Again, you'll see the blocking signal up towards Greenland, the below average heights underneath it. Again, that could leave us pulling in pretty cool and unsettled winds from a northeasterly direction. And then this is even worse. This is August, how the All August combined chart is looking. We've got an April CET range of 8.8 to 9.2, and we get a very strong northern blocking signal in August. Look at this big area of blocking around Greenland and Iceland, and the low pressure is underneath it. The jet stream is also coming in from off the Atlantic as well with this. So it's a very cool, very unsettled, potentially quite wet scene in August, I'm afraid. Not very, very good at all. And putting all of those months together, this is how the All Summers combined chart is looking following April with a CT range of 8.8 to 9.2. And it's about as bad as it gets, really. So look away now if you want a decent summer, because it has this really strong blocking area of high pressure around Greenland and Iceland, and then it tends to stick up the low pressure underneath it. So obviously that sends the jet stream careering off to the south. The blocking is pulling cool air into that trough from the north. I mean, if it can go wrong, it is going wrong there. Now, what I can tell you is just outside our CET range, and bear in mind, we are judging this a little bit. We are having to form a judgment about where the CET range is, because we haven't got the finished number for the CET for this April. So just outside our CET range, we have got some rather better summers that we would have been able to include in our Analogues package if we could have just extended it out a little bit, say from 8.7 to 9.3 or 9.4. So we've got summers like 1959, just outside this CT range. That's a really good extended summer. 1955 also is just outside of the CT range too. So there are some very good summers that are just outside of the CT range. So as I say, this is a little bit of a judgment that we've had to form about this April CT and where it's going to finish up. If only they'd updated it on time at Hadley. I'm not sure what's gone wrong, why we've not had the final number for April CT from Hadley. But there we go. We can't sort of delay. We've got to push on with the update. So we had to do this. And we're just keeping our fingers crossed that our range is going to be there or thereabouts. So we shall see when it finally updates. But it's a very grim update. And I suspect even if we had been able to include those couple of rather better summers just outside the range, it probably wouldn't have made all that much difference in the end to those all months and all summers combined charts. I think the general signal within this package of analogues is for a cool and unsettled summer. But as ever, within any trend, you will get years that are deviating. That's what we see there. So we do have 1995, for example, included within this overall very grim package of analogues. And, of course, when we come to issue the forecast, what we will need to do is put this set of analogues together with all of the other sets of analogues. And then maybe we'll see, like, 1995 standing out a little bit more. Something like that. So we shall see. But it's not necessarily guaranteed at all that this summer is going to be very good. So I know there will be a lot of people watching this summer and being this video, this update, and be in a little bit of despondency about the fate of the summer. But it's not by any means guaranteed that the summer will be anywhere near as bad as this package of analogues is showing. So that's it anyway for your 8th analogues update. We shall have the 9th update next week, and of course that one will carry on with April data. We'll be looking at April precipitation. We may do a bit of April pattern matching as well for that one. And we are pushing on very, very rapidly now towards the summer forecast. That will be released, of course, on Sunday, the 26th of April. Right, that's it. This video will be placed on the summer updates and forecast page with written summary, just going over everything we've discussed in the video. I'll try and get that up for you later on this evening. We're also going to have Gaz Rugby's Sunny Roundup coming up as well, so keep checking back to all of the updates. Tomorrow, of course, our historic video will be looking at the really hot summer that we had last year, 2018, so that'll be quite an interesting watch, I think. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.